Somebody say, Dr. Bryant, it irks me. Where's her colleagues? Where's she a doctor at? Because I've done the research.
And it was what?
I don't see doctor nowhere. If somebody is a doctor, they will be proud to show you, I'm a doctor. She can't do it. She just says it. This is a fantasy that woman is living. I mean, like, you don't see everybody to see you, Sister Bryant. We know it's a girl you call your bodyguard, but we know it's more to it than that. You know what I'm saying? I'm out here in the streets. So I can't say what this girl is that you call in your little security sometimes, but you know what I'm saying? There's people who know y'all and they talk. Prove to me you're a doctor so I can eat crow and apologize. But don't come with that little...
About your doctorate because people can't find your dissertation online. How are you responding to that in this new era of your life?
I'm going to clear it up once on here. I'm not doing it again. And I'm clearing it up for my doc squad, for my fan base, for my audience who deserve to hear me address it. For the folks who have already made up their mind to not like me or not understand me, listen, I don't give a fuck what your narrative is. I would like for you to recreate it, double down on it, and run that shit. Because I don't give a fuck about it. Now, to my doc squad, my fan base, my folks, you know, my village, it's very simple. I went to a school, Argosy University, completed an entire program. I went back online to get my official transcripts because I was applying to a law school many years ago to be a professor there. And I had to provide my transcripts, right, to get hired. And I went to contact the school and say, hey, I need my official transcripts. I need my entire thing. And there was no school. I was like, okay, I'm confused. I Google. It says this school has been shut down. I said, oh, well, they got to have records. I mean, they were accredited when I attended the school. They were accredited when I finished the program. I go and look, there is a third party that has the records. Why contact the third party? That third party only holds records for 2 years. I was past my 2 years.
The Breakfast Club interview, and she kind of messed up.
I went to contact the school and say, hey, I need my official transcripts. I need my entire thing. And there was no school. There is a third party that has the records. Why contact the third party? That third party only holds records for 2 years.
So now I go to Google and I ask Google to get your records from the closed Argosy University. You should order transcripts and diplomas online through Parchment, right? So now Parchment is the third party company that she's speaking on. Let's go back to what she said.
Why contact the third party? That third party only holds records for 2 years.
So she said that third party only holds records for 2 years. How long does Parchment hold on to transcripts from Argosy University? So Parchment generally maintains access to digital records for closed institutions like Argosy University, often holding them for decades or indefinitely. This guy, ended up on my feed. His name is Dr. Dennis Winkler.
So today, May the 13th, 2026, is that today? I went ahead and I paid to see what if I could get my transcript and how long it would take.
Purchased his transcript 2 days ago, which is way past the 2-year mark that Dr. Cheyenne Bryant spoke on.
I received a receipt, website that everybody was talking about, Parchment Team. It then took me through a process to verify my email. Then it says access transcripts.
So basically, he got access to his transcripts within minutes.
Multiple degrees, and I'm not going to prove anything to anybody. My obedience is to God. My obedience is to God. My obedience is to God, not to people.
Every photo of her. She's got every accolade. She's got every certificate of perfect attendance of everything she's ever earned behind her head. And you see what we don't see there? A diploma. See, your diploma would generally go right there back behind your head so that it can be easily visible and readable. She's got magazine articles. She's got little Kinko's print off award trophies. She got everything but a diploma, because instead of getting her diploma, she decided to get a trademark. Why? Because this has always been about branding. This is about portraying that she is a doctor, even though she never graduated. The new team.
When I said I worked under a license, see, all of this is terminology. People would open up their ears and do what school teaches therapists to do. I'm not a therapist, but
Tell the audience out there where you first got your start.
as like a therapist, I started off as a marriage, family, and child therapist about 18 years ago. Before I obtained my doctorate degree in counseling psychology. Once I became a doctor of psychology, I transitioned from a therapist to a psychology expert in private practice. And the group of licensed professionals who have an issue with this, they teach you all something called active listening. None of y'all seem to be actively listening. Working under a license.
I was up till 4 a.m. watching interviews of this nigga. When I open this motherfucking laptop, it's
Welcome to another episode of the Men's Table. I'm your host, Jeff St. James, and I'm going to introduce our regular panelists and two of our guests for this evening. I'm going to start with Mr. Mumia himself. Welcome, good sir.
Hey, what's going on, Jeff? And thank you for inviting me on. And everybody knows who I am. My name is Mumia Obsidian Ali. I'm a villain, a hero to some, a villain to others. One of the some would say 3 kings or founding fathers of the Black Manosphere. Also one of the founding fathers of the Black Manosphere Conclave, author, thought leader, public intellectual, and semi-professional pest. Glad to be here.
And then we're going to welcome Dave Anderson. What's going on, Business Bully?
Listen here, man. You people know who I am. My degrees are in the drawer. If you like them, I can go get them, but I don't think you've ever come to me for my degrees. I think you come to me for exactly what I do on this show, and then I don't need to thank Jeff for being invited. I'm part of the original 4. It's what the hell we do. You come here because these gentlemen are kind. These gentlemen are patient. These gentlemen are very well spoken. And while I may be all of those things, I serve as the resident asshole. That is why I'm here. I am here to say the very uncomfortable, very disrespectful, and very thought-provoking things. Like I said 2 years ago when I told you this flaming thought pocket was not a doctor.
We go get
now again, like I told Jeffrey, I am not a clinician. However, gentlemen, for those of you who do not know me, kosher clinician and Dr. L, welcome. I know you have just obtained the very first ever PhD in thoughtnomics, and I am here to give you my dissertation live.
And then we got Mr. McPherson. What's going on, Darwin?
What's going on? Appreciate kosher clinician and Dr. L coming up here to be a guest here. I'm probably the youngest one. No, actually,
right,
the podcast is the youngest one. Damn.
Yeah, I'm 36.
I'm just here to be as objective as I can. That's it. Simple as that.
All right, we'll see how everybody does with that. And then we have 2 distinguished guests that I'm excited to finally be able to host and have on. So I'm going to start with first Mr. Kosher clinician, man. What's going on, man? Welcome to the Men's Table.
Hey, yeah, man. Listen, man, it's a pleasure, man, to be in the pantheon of kings. It's a pleasure, man. And so it's an honor. And Dave, I ain't forgot you, man. We're gonna make it happen, brother. I ain't forgot you. It's been busy.
Brother, I've been holding on since my beard was black. It's okay. I understand how it is. I'm not as important as you are, but that's okay. I'm happy you're here now.
No,
it's
listen,
all right.
man. You're a 5-star recruit, man. I got you. I promise you, man. But listen, it's a pleasure, man, to be in the pantheon of greatness, man. Shout out to Mumia Ali. Shout out to Darwin. Shout out to Dr. L. And also the young Jedi and Jeff St. James. It's gonna be a good conversation. Because a lot of this stuff that we see, guys, is pathological. It's all tied into grandiosity, and we'll get to that at some point. But it's a pleasure to be on the platform, and I look forward to the conversation.
Sure, for sure. And then last but not least, man, Dr. L, welcome to the Men's Table.
Thank you so much for having me. I really, really appreciate it. Don't ask to see my paperwork because the dog ate it. I did run to Kinko's. I was not able to obtain it. Thank you so much for having me. I really, really appreciate it. I'm looking forward to the conversation as well.
All right. So for everybody that's currently watching from whatever channel, whatever respective platform you're watching from, I always ask from the very beginning, make sure that you follow every single person that you see on the screen. Feel free to become a member of our respective channels. Make sure that you like the live that you're currently watching from. And if you have any particular questions or comments that you want us to read or not miss, make sure to hit that super chat button at some point before we close out the show. All right, fellas. So for starters, we got a lot going on and maybe a whole bunch of things we could potentially cover. But Miss Cheyenne Bryant in the so-called potentially highly likely missing degrees. I'm going to start with our guest. We'll start with Dr. L and then Kosher. Fellas, what do y'all actually think about this whole situation, about her presentation and her believability that she's actually done a lot of the things that she's been claiming? We'll start with Dr. L and then Kosher.
All right. So what I believe about this is that she is manifesting some type of breakdown in which her lies have been exposed. As we saw, Corey Holcomb outed her or attempted to out her a long time ago, and apparently a lot of people didn't pay attention. So it's really unfortunate. I feel bad about this situation, but I mean, there's so much that we can and should learn from this situation. She has demonstrated some erratic behaviors. I cut off for a second there. Can you hear me? She has demonstrated some erratic behaviors. She has demonstrated some ridiculous arguments, and she has doubled and tripled down on it. And it's really unfortunate that we're in this situation. I think it bodes well. Excuse me. It doesn't bode well for the therapeutic community, who have pushed back greatly. It doesn't bode well for Black women in particular, and it doesn't bode well for those who would seek service, particularly for men who would seek service and say, this is the type of thing that's out there. So that may be an unfair characterization generally, but this is how the world thinks. This is how many people think. And so I think it's good that we're having these conversations. I think it's incredibly good that Black women in particular, therapists, are having this conversation to push back against this and say there are some good people out there who have the credentials, have the wisdom, have the knowledge. And it's unfortunate that she's been allowed to go on for this long.
Yeah, I again, we're definitely going to give our opinions on how she even got to this point for sure. And just want to give a couple quick shout outs because some people already started giving. We have W Dave for you. Thank you for the $10. Appreciate the super chat. And then S James Palmer 1517. Thank you, good sir, for the salute and for the $20 banger to start us off for sure. Kosher, what you thinking, man? What's going on with your homegirl?
Well, listen, it's the pre-verification of truth. You know, a lot of it is what appears to be from a clinical. There could be some underlying traits associated with NPD. We all know the NPD is mostly manifest in men, but women can either have a full-blown diagnosis or have some of the traits. And let me be real clear. I'm not saying this woman is NPD. I want to be clear when I say this. But listen, one of the fallacies that people assume is that they assume that all therapists are in the helping field to help people. And while that's mostly true, some people go into therapy or become therapists themselves to gain admiration and attention from their adherents. It's that narcissistic supply. You know, they love to be adored and admired and felt good about. And so some people get into this profession because of altruism, because they really want to help people. But some get into it for confirmation of unhealed trauma wounds. And what it does, it makes them feel good about themselves. And when you don't affirm that grandiosity, then all of a sudden you become a target of their anger. In the clinical, we call it a narcissistic rage or a narcissistic injury. And that's what appears to be happening with Dr. Cheyenne Bryant, where she, scapegoats Jesus. She scapegoats her true followers, and she uses that to assuage her maladaptive ego. So that's what I think is going on for the most part with Cheyenne Bryant.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. Let me hear from everybody. Darwin, then Dave, then Mama Mia.
Well, I got an unpopular opinion.
Okay.
I really could care less, what she identified, the fact that she can't find her credentials. I think that in these spaces, it's proven that credentials ain't necessary to be able to garner an audience and lead them whatever way you want to go or get whatever clout. You don't have to have it. You have guys in this space that could speak volumes and reach thousands of people. Derek Jackson, somebody who cheated on his wife, is still able to run circles around guys like us that got, proven integrity and stuff like that. So it really doesn't matter. And then you look at society at large. You can go out and identify as a man. You can go out and identify as a woman. Shit, she identified as a doctor. Oh well. My thing is, if people have so much of a problem with it, why are they putting her on a mountaintop, putting her on all these podcasts, all these TV shows if it's a problem? You got all these people in this space, been in here for years that got credentials. They never called none of us, not one of us. Neither one of us. I haven't got a DM. Dave haven't. Coach or clinician haven't. He's a licensed therapist. Ain't nobody called none of us.
I think Dave gonna argue about that, but I hear you.
Ain't anybody call his ass.
First of all, see, this is the problem. This is the problem. See, he still got that sweet bird of youth because he's 40. He doesn't understand what comes on the other side of this here. Respectfully to Darwin, I will agree, and I think you should be able to be whatever it is that you think that you want to, because that's what society says that you can be. I will give you some real world examples, and then I'll circle back to who's called who. The first thing I want to point out is there's a woman named Susie Orman. Susie Orman is not a certified public accountant. She does not have an accounting degree. She, as a matter of fact, her last full-time position was as a diner waitress. That does not stop the fact that she has 5 New York Times bestsellers. It does not stop the fact that she is arguably one of the best financial experts, male, female, black, or white, on the planet. And the reason she became that is because she was a mom trying to figure out exactly how to make money work for her on a shoestring budget. When you look at someone like Rachel Ray, who happened to be banging a guy who was in charge of the local public access station, and she turned that into a cooking empire that includes everything from soup to dog food. When you look at a guy who basically was breaking knuckles and becoming a stick-up kid, who an old white man in Customato turned into Iron Mike Tyson. He was not a phenomenal boxer, but he could knock you the hell out. We live in a world where a dyslexic, dyscalculic, speech impediment having 560-pound Negro named Dave Anderson has appeared on CNN, Huffington Post, Forbes, Entrepreneur Magazine, The Breakfast Club, all before I lost the weight. And then when I lost the weight, then all of a sudden interviews got banned because now I actually look like the thing I was saying. 23 books later, the problem with Cheyenne Bryant is that everybody I named up to, and including myself, never lied on their credentials.
Right.
They said up front who they were, what they were, and what they had. Now you got a woman named Rhonda, and right after this, I'll land my plane. It's a woman named Rhonda who had made a myriad of mistakes and decided that she was going to help people change. She was going to help people live a phenomenal life. Such a phenomenal existence, as a matter of fact, that she changed her name. And once she changed her name, she wound up in Chicago. And when she was in Chicago, she took the stage at the Oprah Winfrey Show and became Iyanla Vanzant, arguably one of the best life coaches on the face of the planet. Now, here's the gag. And this is the part that everybody's about to get upset at Dave for, but I call balls and strikes. And for the record, I'm not one of those people that didn't have coochie until coochie had him. I have a beautiful wife. I've been around beautiful women. When I say what I'm about to say, I have to preface that because there's a couple of knuckle-dragging, mouth-breathing Negroes in the comments who won't understand this. Cheyenne Bryant has all the tools that Iyanla Vanzant has, and then some. She did not need a degree, but because she's insecure, and I'm not a clinician, Jeff, you feel free to be clinical whenever you decide to, do your clinical thing. Because she is insecure, because she is weak, because she has spent more time developing the book cover instead of the pages of the book, she felt like she was lacking. Basically, she's Dumbo. If you've ever seen Disney's Dumbo, there's a poignant scene where they convinced Dumbo that the reason that he can fly is the magic feather. Then when the magic feather wound up getting into the big top tent and the tent started burning down, someone had to tell him there is no magic feather you can fly without it. In her case, having all these degrees, and I'm a therapist and I'm not a therapist, and I worked under a license, I'm over the license, I'm through the license. Listen, the only thing faker than her credentials is Dr. Umar's school.
Already.
Oh, I'm sorry. Do we have a teacher signed on? Are there any boys in this Hotep Hogwarts? Did Dashiki Dumbledore?
You gonna piss the Dr. Umar fans off in the comments?
I don't give a goo god fuck. I'm from Philly. I'm from the same neighborhood that Negroes from. And you know what the difference is? King Randall in rural Georgia built a school like Tony Stark did in a box of scraps in less time. There's a kid named Jackson out of the South. He in months got the funding together and is getting people certified in everything from being an eyelash tech to being a theater major. I'm trying to understand why it takes 14 years and $5 million, but I digress. The only thing faker than Cheyenne Bryant's so-called credentials is Dr. Umar's school. And finally, real quick, and then I'm shutting up for the rest of the show. Dr. Umar ain't catching a stray, he is a stray. What I'm saying to you is, if we're gonna call it out, because I don't want nobody to call me. No, because I don't want anybody saying I'm a misogynist. I love black women. So if we're gonna call out frauds, we need to call out Dr. Umar, who, by the way, phenomenal if you got a kid with an IEP, and also Rashad Ritchie, who seems to be Rashad Ricky with that weird little teeny tiny crawling mustache that works for the Young Turks, got the sweet mouth, and got all these degrees that can't nobody pronounce from universities that look worse than the trap bando Dr. Umar is calling the FDMG Academy. I am sorry, as a black professional who's actually a college professor, as somebody who went through college, as somebody who paid for his daughter cash to go to college, I take great umbrage as the son of an Ivy League graduate degreed parent. I take great umbrage as the nephew of somebody who taught at MIT. I got an issue with this broad. And as black people are crawling, crying, and screaming for good mental health clinicians who share a cultural frame of reference, I say you drag this chick by her thought-tostical lace front dag-on hair and her overdone body and bring her before the panel to be weighed, measured, and found lacking. And I land.
Darwin says something that I had been wrestling with as well, and I kind of alluded to it as well. And I actually want to hear everybody's thoughts about it. And Mumia, you can start off responding to this. When he says her credentials never really mattered, I actually agree with him. I actually agree that the people who historically overwhelmingly that were supporting her before and the people who are still supporting her now, they were never interested in her credentials to begin with. They were never looking for it. It wasn't needed in their mind. It wasn't necessary. It was functionally irrelevant, including all the platforms that she was able to get on. They didn't need to verify anything. And I actually think her credentials also probably didn't matter to the people who haven't been a fan of hers for years. Because whether she had the title or the degrees or the diplomas or any proof, if they didn't like what she was saying or didn't agree with her talking points or how professional she was, those degrees didn't mean anything. If they thought she was a bird, they thought she was a bird. If they thought that she wasn't really clinical in her assessments of what she was saying and how she was behaving, you know, her having a degree wasn't going to change their mind.
But Jeff,
so shocking as it sounds, I kind of
guess what happened though.
A little bit. You said what?
Guess what happened though? You remember whenever, I think it was maybe a month ago.
Okay.
She kind of flipped the switch on who she pointed the blame to.
You know what?
Let's once that happened, everybody starts swarming her credentials.
This moment right here.
Women, y'all know I stand on a mountaintop for you, especially black women. But I gotta say this. I meet better men nowadays than I meet women.
That was it.
Moment.
Crucial mistake.
That was it.
That was it. I agree. I've said it. I've mentioned it in my stuff, and I've said it on the panels as well. There's been other outlier things that were making more and more people start to be aware of her. The overwhelming percentage of black women publicly jumping up and now saying they have an issue with her, it was after she said this moment. To me.
Of course.
Mamiya, what you thinking, brother?
Yeah.
Do you think her credentials matter? And also, when did you start to see the tide start to change in terms of the scrutiny towards her?
All right. So, you know, of course, we're going to do the, you know, this is just Black America. It's going to be, you know, he said, she said. So, and we're going to get into that. But I just feel compelled to say the following because I am the senior man here. and leaders lead from the front. So, brothers, we dropped the ball here. And who I'm speaking about in particular, I'm talking about Ace Metaphor.
There you go.
Talking about Shannon Sharp.
Come on.
I'm talking about Joe Budden and Mark Lamont Hill.
Oh, Jam.
Talking about Nick Cannon. And the reason why I say we, and a little while, the reason
because you're French.
Yeah. The reason why I said we is because Dondre Whitfield, who we recently had a conversation with, and we disagreed, and I was one of them, said that, you know, part of being a leader is taking responsibility for things that you didn't even cause.
Right.
I disagreed with him then. I am changing my mind now. We dropped the ball. All of us. Look, we understand how this works. One black man does something that messes up, it's a bad reflection on all of us. Didn't we see that happen last month with Bloody April?
Yeah.
Yes? So fine. Leaders lead from the front. We dropped the ball. When I was a younger man, about 10, 11 years old, I watched a movie on Saturday. I don't know about anybody else here, but when I was coming along on Saturday, they have the cartoons in the morning. And then in the afternoon, around 12, 1 o'clock, they have Creature double feature, Kung Fu Theater. And then they would throw in, you know, a sword and sandal type, you know, Ben-Hur or something like that. And this particular Saturday, I never forget it. There was a movie called Jason and the Argonauts. Love that movie. Came out in 1963. I wasn't born back then. I was born later than that. I saw this in the late 70s, early 80s. And it's about Jason and his quest for the Golden Fleece.
Yes, sir.
And he goes and gathers up all the heroes of Greece, including Hercules, the world's strongest man. They all get together on the ship with the face of Hera, the goddess, and they set off for the Golden Fleece. And it showed you all the different trials and tribulations they deal with, rough sea, and they got to deal with the Cyclops, and then they got to deal with the Harpies, and they got to deal with the big bronze statue, and then they got to deal with the skeleton men, they fighting them. But the one thing that really stuck to me in watching Jason and the Argonauts, I'm a kid. The one thing that really stuck with me was when they encountered the sirens. What is a siren? A siren is a very attractive woman.
Good point.
Who does not mean you well. They had this island of sirens and they're singing to Jason and his Argonauts. And the guys want to jump off, overboard and try to swim, you drown, right? Jason was smart enough to have one of the greatest musicians ever in Greece to come along with him to play his guitar louder than those siren songs. See, we don't have anybody in the black community, I'm talking about men now, who have the spirit of Jason and the Argonauts. Okay? We were beguiled by the glamour of someone like a Cheyenne Bryant. We were beguiled by that. And you know, my grandmother would say, when you know better, you do better. And that makes me really question this because Shannon, I'm looking at you, brother. You ought to know better. We're contemporaries in age. The difference is you spent a whole lot more money for a piece of tail than I ever will last year. We don't know exactly how much you spent, but it was enough to where that young chippy you was messing with said she could retire from OnlyFans. Ace Metaphor, I like you. And you know I like you. I never asked you for a favor, supported you, the whole Megillah. It cost you $700,000 to make Keita Rose go away. And yet you platformed a beguiling siren on your dais for over a year. Cam Newton, it goes without saying. I mean, right now the word is that once again you're doing what you do. And I've gone on record and saying I don't approve of that. It's one thing to be a man about town. People are adults, they're consenting adults, they do what they do. It's something else to, you know, all the kids, but I can't in good conscience sign on with that. It just makes me wonder, fellas, what are we doing? This is no longer a question of he said, she said, messy beef. This is a regulatory issue. This is a moral issue. This is a practice issue. Somebody could end up really getting hurt behind this. Somebody could really get hurt. And I don't think that we're really thinking about this. You know, I had the experiences of the past few years of my life have given me time to kind of really assess. And what I mean by that is being away from YouTube. And it's given me a lot of time to assess. You know, being an author, being a writer is very solitary. You spend a lot of time by yourself with your thoughts. I had a lot of time to think by myself. This microphone is power, man. Especially when you're somebody of the level of the men that I'm talking about. What are we doing with our power? What are we doing with it? And to what end? Cheyenne Bryant could not be a thing if we didn't let her in. Have we learned nothing from sinners? Have we learned nothing from that? Vampires can't enter your house unless you let them in. There was a movie over in Sweden. They did a remake of it called Let Me In. You let her in. She couldn't do this on her own. She used black men to do what she did. So while, yes, what my brother Darwin says is true. Black women really didn't care until Cheyenne Bryant took a look at them. Yes, that's true. But leaders lead from the front. Brothers, we dropped the ball on this. I think the time has come for black men to look deeper than a big butt and a smile. All you brothers have whole production teams. It wouldn't have done nothing for y'all to just do a little bit of homework on this. But you wanted the clicks, you wanted the views, you wanted the quick engagement. Quick and easy is the pathway to the dark side. And look at where we are now. Look at where we are now. I am so glad that I watched that movie growing up, Jason and the Argonauts, because I have never forgotten the story about the sirens. Never forgotten it. And here we are many years later. Because I saw her right off the rip. I was like, no. This is too good to be true. Too good to be true. Not buying it. Too good to be true. Sister looked that good, talking all that slickness. No, I'm not buying it. Something's not right. I'm not buying it. Not buying it. Her, I'll tell you another one. Because I saw them at the same time. There's another lady of what they were saying, Britain, Asian descent. She's Pakistani over in Britain. Sadia Khan. She's another one. I saw her at the same time. I said, no, it's too good to be true. Too fine, talking too slick. Something's off about that. Sure enough.
Sadia Khan was a side chick she was disguised as somebody very moral, but she was a side chick. If she wasn't married, I'm like, what's wrong with a side chick being a relationship coach?
Yeah.
I mean,
so there's a big,
they're doing it anyway in between back shots.
Yeah, there's a really big lesson here for black men. I know we're going to get into the other side of it, and that's part of the story, so we got to go there. But there's a serious lesson in this. And I have deep fears that we brothers are not going to learn the lesson of the siren. The three wise men said it best. You can't trust a big butt and a smile. That girl is poison. I don't think we've learned that lesson.
Yeah. Now let me get to the super chats, and then Dave and Dr. L, I want y'all to kind of jump in and kind of respond to some of that. Let me see who we got. Gregory Scotland, thank you for the $20 salute, gentlemen. We not only have these life coaches such as Cheyenne Bryant, but we have had bad female therapists like the TikTok professional a few years ago, and the
Duluth crowd.
The Duluth crowd. And then who else we have? Micah Malice. What's going on, brother? We are in the building. Thank you for the $5. I might have had to log into my laptop, other phone, TV, YouTube to give everyone in the building a view. Our brothers, appreciate you, good brother, for showing love. And then last but not least, Lydell Jefferson. Thank you for the $50 banger. What's going on? And then the Kung Fu movies. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So if you're currently still watching from any of your respective channels or platforms, again, we just ask that you share it with at least 1, 2, or even 3 people, and make sure that you like it and hit that super chat button. And before we close out, to let us know if you have a particular comment or question that you want us to ask. Dave, Dr. L, and then Kosher.
Oh, Obsidian, my Philadelphia brother. I could have swore we got rid of this Dondre Whitfield problem last week. But today you've decided to act light skinned on a panel full of chocolate with one caramel drop.
Is that Darwin?
If in fact
you referred to this man as a caramel drop? Nah, hold on. We ain't gonna just skip over. Did you refer to this man as a caramel drop?
I was talking about Darwin because not only is he caramel complected, but he eats peanuts. So I mean, if we're gonna have a Snickers bar, let's make sure we complete.
My bad.
So,
Continue.
thank you. So stay with me. I'm gonna take you there. It's a long way around, but it's worth the trip, gentlemen. You don't get to talk about leading from the front, respectfully, when you neither have the means or the power to lead those who don't want your leadership. Point number one. Nick Cannon is a $30+ million monster. Speaking of monsters, your friend Ace Metaphor has been a pussy panderer for the better part of half a decade.
True.
Where in the world was your leadership when he decided to go out here and exploit black women at the expense of heterosexual black men who have been beaten down, browbeaten, disrespected, and beaten up by someone you claim to be an OG of? Where were you then? On top of that, stop me when I go wrong, ladies and gentlemen, or as my favorite pro wrestler of this era says, tell me when I'm telling lies. Cheyenne Bryant's audience happens to be of the ovarian American variety. And I don't know if you've lived on this earth, but on this earth, when black women want to follow somebody, they will follow them off a cliff until such time as they turn on the sisterhood. That sounds like some female business that has nothing to do with straight heterosexual black men. Now, maybe it's because I'm 10 years your junior that I've got maybe just a little bit more fire in me and it ain't been kicked out yet. But what I'm not going to do is take responsibility for closeted white women loving people like Shannon Sharp. Skip. Be my Michelle. I got to prove to everybody I'm not sissified. So I'm going to click a button, then click another button and throw the phone across the room so that everybody can see that I actually have sex with a white woman who's covering up for the fact that I'm in the closet next to Roland Martin. So I'm trying to understand how in the world do you profess that you're going to lead somebody from the front when we did not build this woman up? She was already built, except for the guy you say you're the OG of, and that's Ace Metaphor. Ace Metaphor had her traveling around town. Hell, even Truth Hurts, as sketchy as that felon is, said, I'm not in good conscience going to sit next to a liar. Even though he sat next to liars on multiple pussy pandering stages, he all of a sudden woke up. So I'm trying to understand, at what point did you just wake up and decide that it's our fault that a woman who focused on women who wanted to be like her, who genetically just don't got it, because most of them are slack-jawed North American big backs trying to find their way out of their mediocre lives and their last-ditch effort to get a man because their coochies are Afghanistan bombed out and depleted? How do we lead that? And then how do we take responsibility for something that we have not had? And that's the ball for 65 years. I need to understand.
I totally agree.
Basically, where you were when little teeny tiny Ace Metaphor was just pandering with his phone like a this. Now it is turned into the greatest cartoon show on earth called Panderfest 2026. That's not a conversation. It's an edict. And if you lead, I suggest you get your ass in a DeLorean. Get to 80 daggone miles per hour, get yourself 1.21 gigabytes and go back to the past before that pander monster got to a place where he's just hiring people for hundreds of thousands of dollars to perpetuate a lifestyle where women feel they don't need men. Please enlighten me with your leadership. If we're going to call it, we're going to call it all.
I'm going to say this real quick, and then Dr. Al, I want you to respond to all of that in terms of, I actually can acknowledge two things could be true. I think obviously Cheyenne's gotten herself into a situation like this. She may or may not deal with the consequences. There were men that platformed her, but overwhelmingly her base, like Dave said, was black women. So I think primarily her audience is black women. She found key men for high leverage positions to platform her. And all three of those parties have nothing to do with heterosexual men that really weren't supporting her, buying her tickets. Most of us weren't even paying enough attention to her. Like, it's one of those situations where it's like, I can acknowledge the individual men that actually increased and exacerbated this issue, but I'm not taking accountability or credit for this at all. This shit ain't got nothing to do with me. And in fact, when I joined the podcasting sphere last year, this was one of the first things I've actually spoke out about, is the symbolism and the message that she's sending to educated professional women that they can move and do the same thing and they'll get the same outcomes. Yeah, you might lose your job, sis. You might lose your 10-year professorship. You might.
But what outcome is she getting though?
But what I'm saying is the outcome that she's getting, that a lot of women who aren't as rich, who don't have that aesthetic, and who aren't in the circle she's in, they're held to different consequences. And it's the same thing with all the women that are being propped up as the heroes and the icons and the ones to kind of emulate right now. When you move like them, you don't have the money to fall back on.
Right.
You
But
don't have the, yeah.
Yeah, my point is, look in the camera. My point is, for all of her beauty, right? Even put aside the reason why we're here tonight. For all of her beauty, what has it gotten her? What is it netted her? I mean, this is
hell of a lot, bro. A hell of a lot of money.
This is one money, which could go away at any time, given the situation that she's in right now. But again, one big long thirst trap. It hasn't netted her a man. It hasn't done it.
Well, number one,
She don't want no man.
Bro, don't we pass the
I'm sorry, my beard is itching. My bad. Continue, Jeff.
Dr. L, get in here, please. Who's supposed to be taking accountability? Please speak some sense into Mr. Ali. Tell us it's not just us.
Yeah, listen, I'm not taking accountability for that. I think that first of all, I don't have as many one-liners as Dave, so you got to forgive me. He was. Just
I'll write some for you. It's okay.
So listen, I just can't get with that. When we're talking about someone who started off saying she was a doctor, most people don't check diplomas, degrees, transcripts before you go on a podcast. Mm-hmm. So I didn't think anything about it. I watched the first time I heard about it. I watched her on Cam Newton. I knew that she was talking crazy. I have a master's degree in forensic psychology. It's nowhere near to Kosher and to Jeff, but that's my education. So when she's saying stuff, I'm like, that ain't right. That ain't right. You know, so I'm able to decipher it. But I'm like, okay, I didn't really give it too much attention. Then I watch Corey. Now I'm thinking, okay. So then I do the research. I go to her website. So I did two videos about her last year. So this whole idea about, black men got to take accountability for things that we didn't cause. Right. I can't rock with that, man. I can't. Things that are in my locus of control, I'm going to control. Yes. And whatever I can do, I'm going to do. And yes, these people have bigger platforms. And to the best of my ability, I put the information out about whoever, whatever, whenever. Mm-hmm. So that's my attempt. That's my ability. And I'm going to stand on that. So I can't rock with taking accountability for things that are outside of my locus of control. I control myself, my kids, my family, and that's where I'm going to take leadership and accountability at. So to the point that a lot of ladies were going after this. Well, we've alluded to that there was no problem with this until that video that you played. Oh, now it's a problem. Now let me see your transcripts.
That's true.
Now let me see who is your professor, who is your chair, what was your dissertation on? All of this, right? You forgot a dot here. You forgot to cross a T there. Nah.
I think
not on this watch.
I think to Ali's point before you go, Coach, we should be in a position to be able to take accountability, but because we don't have the locus of control, I think we're exposing sort of like the Tekashi 6ix9ine dilemma. Anybody can come into our space, wreak havoc, and put themselves on a pedestal and do numbers. We don't I think that the conversation we got to have as a space or whatever we want to call it, manosphere, whatever, we have to be able to have barriers that is difficult for people to come into, or have a boycotting strategy or system that deters people from feeding into those numbers. But the sisters that are in the audience for this woman are so closely linked to the manosphere. I mean, you would be surprised. I don't think any of y'all on the panel would, but a lot of the audiences are detractors, are the people that are against, the women that are against us, the other side, just to see what we're saying, so they can go back and huddle around and figure out how to navigate it. So it's sad that we can't take accountability for something that we should have control over. We're just exposing that we don't have control over the space. And that might be the next conversation. How do we gain? We can build up all these groups. We can build a men's table, a conclave, whatever you want to call it. But where is the line where people have to get through to be able to come into the space? Have we even thought about development, or do we even have power? YouTube, I don't think even YouTube is giving black men the power to be able to do that.
Nah, the first thing I was going to say real quick, and then Coach, I want you to come in. Social media, for the most part, is almost functionally unregulated.
You're right.
As long as you don't say certain keywords or bring up certain key topics, you can put up a microphone. And if you look good, you're going to get into certain spaces. What I'm doing and how I'm engaging in this space, and what I think a lot of you gentlemen are doing, that's so different from, I think, a Cam Newton and those type of personality types that are just, they're athletes, they have a platform, and that's kind of it. So in my mind, it's like the idea of her entering into these type of spaces where we're probably going to be a little bit more likely to challenge her viewpoints on certain things. The space is already designed where most people that know they won't do well in this space, they avoid it. That's why politicians avoid a lot of these spaces, especially on the left. That's why a lot of the feminists and a lot of the misandrous podcasters would never come on these platforms. They're already designed to know that we're not going to just accept your feminist framework, your lies, false data about issues between the genders. They know that we know that we're going to challenge some of those points, and they're already not coming into these spaces and places. So that's already happening, if that makes sense to a degree. When you say whether it's Ace Metaphor or all these other guys that have platformed her to some degree, yeah, I don't know if that's a men's issue as much as it is an urban community, not even a black. I think that we tend to kind of put people just in similar territories, regardless of what their background is. It's usually heavily about, we go through this every election cycle. If you tell me what I want to hear, there's a good chance you're going to get my vote. And that's kind of how we approach most things, to be fair. And I think that, like I said, I'd rather isolate the individual men who platformed her and the women who bought the tickets and bought her books and used her for all of these services without maybe verifying and vetting certain things. But Dave and I think Dr. L, they kind of alluded to it. Black women are going to do what they want to do.
Right.
They're going to do what the hell they want to do, regardless of what men who they don't feel have authority over them or responsible for them. They're going to do what they want to do, listen to who they want to listen to, purchase tickets for who, and they're going to defend the worst caliber of women and wives that we've ever seen, specifically because they're Black. Yes. So no, I'm very similar with Dr. L, where it's like they don't even come to our neck of the woods in terms of the internet. So how are we, if we're not supporting them, we're not purchasing their products, we're not showing up to their shows, we're not buying their books, outside of what Darwin said, which is we should have more authority to gatekeep certain things. Well, we don't. That's it. And they don't want to relinquish anything or change anything so that we do. So in my mind, I actually want to agree with Dr. L and Dave. Kosher, what you think, man?
So yeah. Great expose by Dave. Dave, I want to shout you out, man. You did a phenomenal job where you dissected. I can't think of the guy's name, Dontre Whitfield, respectfully. But see, here's the paradox. Here's the paradox with this static blackness or flat blackness. I'll call it static blackness. It's a presumption and the assumption that just because your skin color is black, we all belong to the same tribe, and I refute that highly. I will argue parenthetically that there's a percentage of black women that are part of our tribe, but a lot are not part of our tribe. And I agree with Dr. L. I agree with Dave Anderson. You know, Obsidian, you my brother, I love you, but I'm not taking accountability for that because she's not part of my tribe. The biggest misnomer when it comes down to black folks is that, especially with black men, where black women are in power, then they are a separate entity. But when they're in peril or pain, then black men must come to the rescue. And Obsidian, you killed it, man, on that show. You said, I'm not going to serve for people that don't honor and respect me. And the problem is that when you consistently reward bad behavior by asking black men to undo things that they never done, then it becomes problematic. And instead of reinforcing good behavior, you reinforce bad behavior. Part of a healthy relationship or a functioning relationship is a concept called synergy. You can't have soul fusion if you don't have synergy. But many times in the black community, black men are asked to do unhealthy undoing instead of doing healthy undoing. Healthy undoing is an ego defense mechanism that says that I did Dave wrong, so therefore I'm going to go to him as a man and apologize. I did Jeff wrong, I'm going to go to him as a man and apologize. But unhealthy undoing is a psychopathology where black men are told to undo something they never done. And that's dangerous because, see, I've always said, Jeff, and the panel, that we got a generation of defective women and compromised men. And when you have defective women and compromised men, what happens? Men don't get power, they lose power. And I'm a firm believer, I believe in the teachings of the Messiah. I believe that in order for men to lead and in order for women to get the benefits that they are looking for, they must serve us first. The problem is we've been so conditioned to serve them. And instead of being men of greatness, we become commodities to be subjugated by. And because of that, that's not healthy masculinity. That's compromised masculinity. And it never works because it's not predicated on a power exchange. Frederick Douglass said it better than me. He said the power never conceded to nothing without a struggle. It never have, and it never will. And so they're not part of my tribe. If they don't think the way I think, which is predicated in heteronormative masculinity, and it's predicated in unison and black folks working together and the woman respecting the black man as being the rightful leader, then they're not part of my tribe. I don't rock with folks just because their skin color is black. Because before we came here to America, we were not of the same tribes. We weren't of the same language. We didn't speak the same words. We weren't. The thing that made us great is the struggle of Jim Crow racism, and we came together as one under the banner of Jim Crow racism to become one essence where black men and black women were working together. But now black women have been defective to some degree, and the men are compromised. And this stuff goes deeper than what we really think it is. It's really occultic. It's deeper than, we try to look at a spiritual thing on the surface, but it's deeper than that. This thing is spiritual, man. And I know it sounds crazy, but that's what it is. I've been studying.
I agree with you. I wholeheartedly agree. And I just want to make something really clear here. When I'm talking about the gentleman that I mentioned by name, Shannon Sharp, Nick Cannon, Joe Budden, Mark Lamont Hill, Ace Metaphor, Cam Newton. When I'm speaking about them, what I want to get at is because again, they're the vector of entry here.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
This is how all this got started. The question has to be is what are you guys doing? Why are you, there's a scene in, I love talking about movies. There's a scene in Gladiator. I know you've all seen it. Very masculine.
What movie is that?
Gladiator. There's a scene in Gladiator where Marcus Aurelius asks Maximus, why are we here, Maximus? He immediately said, we're here for the glory of the empire. That question, why are we here? You and I talked about this before, Dr. L. RoboCop, when he boots up, he gets his 3 directives. Uphold the law, protect the public interest, protect the innocent. Why are we here? These brothers, Shannon Sharp is a Hall of Famer. Cam Newton, they called him Superman on the football field. Why are you guys leaving sports to go into this messiness? Why are you here? Why is it that Joe Rogan can talk to primarily other white men for the most part and be successful, but black men can't talk to other black men and be successful? That goes back to Darwin's point earlier. Why is that? Why are we here? Why are we here? Why is it that Ace Metaphor got to pander to black women? Why is it that black men can't talk to other black men and be successful, man? Why is that?
I think that that's a conversation that we should have, and I agree with. And that to that point, I agree with Darwin that this is a conversation we need to have. Two things can't be true at one time. Let's begin, and this is what the space is about: having these difficult conversations about taking back the authority and actually doing within our communities. That means becoming members of the school boards. That means entering into different local races than national races, having tough conversations, and then attempting to blow up as Kevin Samuels did. So we have to continue to have these conversations. They're going to be tough. They're going to be difficult. Everybody's not going to want to come along, but we have to separate the wheat from the chaff, to speak biblically. So we have to be able to do that in order to get to this certain place. Certainly we should look at ourselves and say, okay, where is it that we may have fallen down? So where these ladies would rather listen to Ace Metaphor and all these other persons rather than the masculine, strong presence that we exude. And first, we got to become the leaders within our own locus of control, and then lead the community. That's where it's at. If people don't want to go, they don't want to go. But I agree to a certain extent. We should at least have the conversation.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now, I want to say this real quick, and then I'm going to read some super chats, and we're going to get into what I think Dr. L and Kosher is going to enjoy is how do we actually listen and watch to know what we should be listening and looking for to tell how authentic or how clinical a person is or is not. But real quick, man, before I even read the super chats, I'm going to just say this out loud.
Mm-hmm.
If a woman's dressed like this, she ain't your woman.
She's not your girl. It's just your turn.
Yeah. Yeah. There's nothing for me to take responsibility for. And even black men in mass, if a woman is already carrying and dressing like this to begin with, she's not yours. She's the community's. She
belongs to the streets.
Yeah. What you about to say, Dr. L?
No, there's been research, I'm sure we've all covered it, demonstrating that when ladies get access to finances, that they refuse to get married and or have children.
Yeah, out of Denmark. Yeah, I heard about that.
Right. And if you read the study, they quote and cite other studies. So this is a well-known phenomenon. This isn't just this Denmark study. This is well-known in the academic literature. So to the point where Cheyenne Bryant, when we said she doesn't want a husband, she don't. That's not even on her radar. She's got fame, money, access to almost any man that she wants. What does she want a husband for? She's living her best life.
Same reason Oprah don't want a husband.
Yeah, they don't need one. They don't want one. They're not, that's not an interest to them.
So that raises the question again. Back to our point of entry. Shannon, Nick, Cam, Ace. Why are you allowing something like this to occur?
We know why. We see this. We see it on the screen. We talking about. We know why. This not now. If you're saying that's a good thing or a bad thing, well, it's obvious, especially in light of what it's led to, how that can be a very dangerous, unethical thing for sure. But we know why. We know that money can get guys access into things, and we know beauty can get women access into things. Now, the idea that when you get those opportunities, what you do with it, how you handle it, how you hide, and how you leverage it, that's up to you. Some people get opportunities because of who they're related to. Some people because of who they're friends with. Some people because of how they look, and some people just because of the money that they have. This is just not unusual to me. From the clinical side of it, for the people who thinks this is not a big deal, it makes sense to me why I think that there's been a split when it comes to people kind of coaching side, therapy side, not a big deal. This is a huge deal. It's not unusual in a situation like this when she has millions and millions of followers to where if you sound charismatic, if you got the look and you sound pretty decent, you can go pretty far. People have done that in every field across the board. I want to play something real quick, and I want everybody that's currently watching, I want you all to pay attention to these two clips. and I want to see if you all can catch what was said, what was her answer, what was asked, what was her answer, and see if you can notice things that don't really sound accurate or anything close to clinical at all. And then I'm going to play a clip of a psychologist that breaks down the foundational clinical language that therapists, psychologists, even psychiatrists and clinical social workers, there's a language in every field. People that worked in radio, they had their own language. People who worked in construction, same thing. People who were nurses, same thing. In the clinical realm, there's a whole host of terms, methodologies, theoretical models, and approaches. We have a whole different way of discussing and sharing and answering questions to things. Let's just go through this test and see if the audience, and then also with you guys, what you pick up.
Would a woman prefer a low value, high functioning man? Is that something you would prefer?
A woman?
No, I'm speaking to you.
Oh, me. So I love that. So if I had to choose between a high value, low functioning, right? Or high functioning, low value man, I would take the low value, high functioning.
Few moments later. I heard what you're saying. So would you take a high functioning man making $50,000 a year?
That wouldn't fit my lifestyle.
So you wouldn't take him?
Not because he makes $50,000.
Well, why?
It is
because he makes $50,000. It is because he makes 50 high functioning.
It's not the judgment of the dollar amount.
Stop lying!
So you're helping us decode what a man really means. And so I've got one. Nothing's wrong. Just stop asking me.
That means that something is wrong and he just is not ready to talk about it. And I think that, men also have to find a better way of saying, not right now. I think that a woman's emotions does matter, and that he has to find the sweet spot of still making her feel loved and a part of, while saying, I know if I put this on you now, it's going to break both of us. Give me a sec. But kudos and shout out to the men who don't have to say that, who can sit at the table and say, well, baby, this is what it is, who have built a comfort with their emotions and who have enough self-awareness to know what they need from their wife in that moment, because that helps us out, fellas.
Conversation about your doctorate because people can't find your dissertation online. How are you responding to that in this new era of your life?
I'm going to clear it up once on here. I'm not doing it again. And I'm clearing it up for my doc squad, for my fan base, for my audience who deserve to hear me address it. For the folks who have already made up their mind to not like me or not understand me, listen, I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck about it. Now, to my doc squad, my fan base, my folks, my village, it's very simple.
So there's a concept in psychology called denial. And this is a defense mechanism where a person will reject or distort reality because the truth threatens the ego or identity they've built for themselves. As a licensed psychologist, and I know other mental health professionals would agree with me, as we're watching this Cheyenne Bryant situation unfold, there's another layer going on, and we call that cognitive dissonance. That's the mental discomfort that happens when someone's reality conflicts with the story they've told themselves, the story they've told the world. And instead of correcting it, people will double down on the narrative that they've created because admitting the truth would require them to confront shame, loss, embarrassment, and even the collapse of the entire identity they've built for themselves. As a licensed clinical psychologist who spent years earning my doctorate, completing supervised training, and passing state licensure exams, I honestly long had questions about her legitimacy because there's a language clinicians use, there's a depth of understanding, precision, and ethical responsibility that becomes second nature through training. And when someone repeatedly misuses terminology or speaks in ways that don't align with the foundational clinical knowledge you get from education and experience, it's going to raise flags for those of us who are actually legitimately in the field. And this is why credentials matter, not for ego, not for elitism, but because people are trusting you with their mental health, their trauma, their vulnerability, and their healing. And I mean, let's be for real. The woman clearly has the charisma, the communication skills, and the presence to have been able to build a platform without misleading the public about credentials she may not possess. People connect to confidence, relatability, storytelling, and delivery she never needed to allegedly attach herself to a title that wasn't legitimately earned in order to have an impact. Our title should never be the sole thing that defines us. But for those of us who sacrifice years and years and years of study, clinical training, supervision, licensing, exam, and ethical accountability to legitimately earn those credentials, it's deeply unsettling to watch people attempt to hijack titles they never earned. It has nothing to do with jealousy. It has everything to do with ethics. You can have all the confidence in the world, and it doesn't mean you're competent. Confidence is not competence. A platform is not proof, and popularity is not professional qualification. We've got to do better, y'all.
Bullshit.
Okay, I'm gonna say the reason why. I'm gonna say this real quick. When we get back to the first two clips, I wonder if you can see both why she can build an audience and how that has absolutely nothing to do with a clinical background. I don't even think it has anything to do with coaching. Would Dr. L and Kosher first, what did y'all know, even the second clip, when it said, when a man says there's nothing wrong, and she immediately comes up with the answer, it's because something's wrong, and and she goes on this whole long narrative and script. What do y'all think about those type of reactions and responses that she gives on these platforms?
Go ahead, Dr. Go ahead.
I think that the psychologist there summed it up well. She's in the middle of a lot of cognitive dissonance, and she is thinking one thing that I should say, and is conflicting with what her inner person is telling her and her inner desires. And so I really concentrated on the first clip where, the high functioning man and this, that, and the other. That's where I noticed it the most is, okay, you all should choose a high functioning, low value man, but I can't date a $50,000 man. Mm-hmm. So this is a conflict that she's dealing with. And she doesn't have the lingo because she doesn't have the education. She doesn't have the foundational basis of it.
Right.
So that's where it is. It comes out in almost every interview. She contradicts herself, contradicts what what the literature says. And I'm sure that you, Jeff, and Kosher can speak to that vastly much better than I can. Right. But that's where we're at, and this is the conflict that she's dealing with, and probably still a lot of unhealed issues from her own past, her own desires. This is the conflict.
Yeah. The dysfunction always leaves clues. It always leaves clues, and one of the great flexes in the so-called Black diaspora in America is the use of the word, and I say it jokingly with satire, but they don't say doctorate. They say doctorate. They got to add emphasis to it. They got to put the T sound. They say they got their doctorate. They got their masters and their bachelors. And so it's the great flex. And it's the great flex because what it does, the average woman can't see the average man physically. And this is no disrespect to the Black women that are noble sisters. They respect Black men. They respect Black family. They respect tradition. They respect the men in general. But see, the doctorate is the great flex because the doctorate with a T on the end is used to devalue men and to keep them in their place. And so one of the tricks of, and I'm not calling this woman a narcissist, that would be unprofessional and unethical for me to call her a bona fide narcissist, but I'm going to say based on the traits, narcissists must always devalue you. And so when you question a person that have narcissistic tendencies, they say, how dare you challenge my grandiosity that I have in my head. One of the things that people that challenge me is that if you don't speak the nomenclature of the masses, then you're not educated, And I've heard, I ain't gonna say no names, but you didn't get your degree. Well, I went to Carolina. I went to the University of North Carolina, chapter here. Me and Michael Jordan went to the same school. I didn't go to Chicken George State University, like Dr. Cheyenne Bryant, because Chicken George State University, it's similar to no disrespect to Argosy, but it's not a rigorous school. I went to I went to North Carolina Central. Graduated with honors magna cum laude from North Carolina Central. Went back to Central, got my license in special ed where I taught young men. So I've been serving the community for a long time. And then I got my associate degree from Pitt Community College in Greenville, where I worked in law enforcement. I worked with mental health inmates, did 7 years working with the Department of Juvenile Justice with some of the worst kids in the state. And so if you don't speak their language, if you don't say the things they think you should say clinically, then you don't have an education. And that goes back to that cognitive dissonance. You're educated if you speak the language of the gynocracy, but you're not educated if you don't speak the language of the gynocracy. And Jeff, I heard you say something a while ago that people assume just because you're educated, they can say, call you educated, lame, disrespect you. Now, so let me tell you something, man. I'm a man first, don't ever get it twisted because you might get your jaw slack. I'm a man first. I don't disrespect nobody, but I ain't like Fleece Johnson. But Fleece Johnson said he's a warrior, and I don't do no booty politics. But my whole point is this.
Yo, man, you quoting Fleece Johnson?
He's quoting the tossed salad man.
No, you gotta hear me. Fleece said he's a warrior. Not I ain't talking about the booty politics. I'm just talking about the enunciation of how Fleece say it. And so,
bro,
come on.
Crazy word.
You know what I'm saying,
bro.
That's crazy.
All right. Wait a minute. I'm gonna leave that alone, man. I'm gonna leave that alone. I don't deal with booty politics, but anyway, I'm gonna leave that part alone. But my point is this. Sometimes people that go to the least rigorous schools, they tend to have the greatest arrogance and the greatest flex. And here's what people don't understand, Jeff, and the panel, Obsidian, Dave, and all the good brothers. Just because you have a degree of knowledge does not mean that you are comprehensive in all domains. Right. One of the things I learned when I was a teacher, I understood that there was a pedagogy. There are many pedagogies. They all have different significance. But sometimes people assume because they have a doctorate in one area, they assume that they're more educated in all things. And that's why blue-collar black men many times get minimized. Because watch this. I promise you Dr. Cheyenne Bryant couldn't do the work that Obsidian did, working as a blue-collar brother. I promise you she couldn't do what most blue-collar men are doing now. I can't even do it. I don't have the skill set to do it. But they assume because they have a doctorate with a T on the end, which is a great flex, that they're better than their men, not understanding that having a degree of knowledge does not make you intelligent in all domains. A degree of knowledge is one thing. How you utilize that is the intelligence behind it. And that's where things get lost in translation. And that's why people, a lot of times, not all black women, but a lot of black women and women in general lead with their doctorate and their education first. Because if you really had true emotional intelligence, you will understand that men don't care about your social market status. Men tend to care about those things that are germane to heteronormative masculinity. So they have a doctorate, but they don't have the intelligence and how to use it as it relates to all people and also all domains.
Dr. L had a female psychologist doctor on not too long ago, and she ain't know what the hell she was talking about. She ain't know nothing. You know what it was, man? Where once you know how like people who like just get saved or just get into a certain religion, or like their first 3 months as a freshman in college, and they think they have like this. It's the Dunning-Kruger effect where they have all this new information. Now they think they're an expert at it. That's often how I think a lot of times this stuff kind of comes off. And one of the initial issues I have when I listened to those clips was, all right, man, you don't need a master's for this. You don't need a doctorate. You don't need a license or any type of certifications. This is a very simple question. Is there any other possibilities? Any other possibilities you could come up with for why a man would say he doesn't have a problem? Other than he's got a problem and he just don't want to tell you. Any other reason? Could it be that he actually doesn't have a problem? How about this? How about this one? How about is he focused on something else that you didn't know? Like his mind was focused on something, and that's why he may be coming off a little distant or distracted. How about she's displacing her negative emotions because of the gap in her believing something is wrong and now asking him what's wrong when she's the one that's feeling that internally? This is normal stuff that happens in couples all the time, but she framed it in a way where men have to only see it in a negative way in which the man's doing something wrong, and men need to conform to make the woman feel better. And I think she even said a quote or said something along the lines of like, women's emotions or feelings matter. Yeah. That's not rocket science. Men's emotions and feelings matter too. So it's like the lack of depth when she talks was very apparent to most people who have gone through, I think, our level of training or education. So the reason why I think Darwin is right is that doesn't matter to the people who rock with her and support her and will platform her. It doesn't matter. And I again can say two things.
Desired outcomes. Yep.
It does, unless the people who supported her, purchased from her, asked for refunds, take her to court, try to do some class action lawsuit of some kind. If they don't do those things, that further proves it didn't matter.
No.
It doesn't actually matter. And that's the bizarre part, where it's like, this is going to come and go. Either the people who have the means and ability to try to hold her accountable will, but those of us who've never really platformed her, supported her, purchased her products, there's actually probably little to nothing for us to actually do other than what we're doing now, which is just giving examples to let people know there's a gap between people who actually did it and then the people who are potentially kind of capping.
You know what? I don't feel bad about those. I think the last few things that psychologist said before she got off was, it's a problem when you start hijacking the titles of things that many people in the profession have worked hard for, and they done licenses and exams and stayed up all night studying and preparing for, and had to, sit in front of a panel or whatever she was saying.
Yeah.
I could care less. And the reason why I say it, no shade to people who actually did the work, but I guarantee you those same people that look like her is pushing the agenda and supporting and championing the agenda, that you can go hijack the identity of men, of a male, or the identity of a female. They wouldn't bat an eye to it. They will probably get out and march for it. But when it comes to y'all titles, don't hijack our titles. Oh, give us our balls back, and then now we can come and support each other. But if y'all are saying that you can walk into the women's bathroom with a dick between your legs, we got a problem. I'm not going to show any remorse. I'm going to just sit there and laugh and say, welcome to my world. Y'all pushing it on one end, push it on the other. Y'all going to allow it on this side, allow it on the other side.
He got an argument, because the very same group that's riding with her the most is the same group that lets anything go when it comes to politics, identity, what you can claim, what you can become. You're right. Now they want to draw the line when it hits too close to home, which is weird that they'll draw the line at their degrees and not their gender, but that's neither here nor there. Dave and then Mumia, man, I want to hear from y'all. What y'all thinking?
Okay, so I used to like the restaurant called Chicken George. It was a phenomenal restaurant. Chicken George was played by one of my mentors, Ben Vereen and Root. So I don't appreciate Chicken George catching strays out here. Having said that, the one thing that we have not I was throwing direct shots. I name names and call. I name names and call. I love Mumia more than life itself. However, I hold him responsible for Ace Metaphor. Meanwhile, I want to get back to my point, and my point is this.
Well, look, I had state on the end, James. So to qualify, I did add state to Chicken George State, not this Chicken George, but Chicken George State. But go ahead.
I got you. Chicken George State, completely different thing. I got you. This is different. It's like that little ding in Ice Ice Baby. Anyway,
right.
The problem that we're not talking about, and Jeff, you of all people can attest to this. Is it not a crime to call yourself a clinician? Is it not a crime to act and treat and diagnose people when you do not have the qualifications to do so? Isn't that a federal offense? Isn't that very similar to what Stormy Wellington was doing when she was telling people that she can make the millions of dollars and she can't point to one millionaire she's ever made, when the majority of those pyramid Ponzi schemes, the bastardized stepchild of what Madam C.J. Walker created while she was putting on for the white man, and putting on BBLs and everything else. Isn't that this? Didn't she just get 20 years for a probation from the FTC? Like, when do we not start talking about the criminal liability that this woman has behind her lies? Now, I agree that a lot of these women tend to hide behind their real credentialing. And when we start talking about relationships and we say we don't care about your degrees, It's not that we don't care about your level of education in your particular chosen profession. That is not a selling point for us when it comes to choosing our mate. That's the whole thing. So to Darwin's point, when you start coming to talking about this, that, and the third, y'all are the same ones who was like free Palestine. Y'all was the same ones behind the folks in Ukraine. You was the same ones out here marching for illegals. You're the same one burning your flag and putting the Mexican flag on your back. You're the one sitting up here saying that you're not a woman, you're a birthing person, which is why I said let the trannies have the woman title and just call yourself vaginal Americans. That way you can identify as what they want to call you anyway, unless of course you have a child and you're using your breast for milk bladders, in which case you are a chest feeding vaginal American. So again, I don't give a googout fart what that woman does. I do, however, care that she's doing it under the auspices of giving out advice. And I also have an issue with her cosplaying like a heterosexual woman, but that's just me.
Man, I'm gonna say this real quick, and then Mamiya come in.
That last part, I'm gonna think on that.
Allegedly.
Allegedly, yeah. I'm gonna say this, man. I actually understand why people who haven't received the training wouldn't see it as that big of a deal. I'm not even mad at it. Where it's like, when you don't understand the purpose of ethics and regulatory boards and what they're designed to do in terms of protecting consumers, it makes sense. Like, for instance, if somebody who isn't an actual clinician, therapist, or psychologist is pretending to be, and they make your life worse or harm you or your child, if they don't have a liability insurance that covers the scope of what they do, you could be out of luck in terms of being able to get an actual financial recourse to fix or address what actually happened. So this is the equivalent of like, now reimagine, instead of it being somebody handling your mental health, reimagine you getting on a plane where somebody is supposed to help transport you from point A to point B. They end up injuring you. The plane doesn't barely even get off the ground. You end up breaking your arm, and you find out that they didn't even have a piloting license at all. Yeah, you might have survived, but there was some harm that occurred as a result of that person being in a position they had no business being in the first place. And depending on how far they went and how far they took it, they could have costed you your life. So when people come to me, or they're sending, a lot of times people aren't coming when things are kind of a 2 out of 10. People are usually coming when things are on fire. Their marriage is at risk. Divorce is pending. They're thinking about taking their own life. It's real world consequences. It's very consequential if you get this wrong. And when you don't have oversight, when you don't have accountability, but you're engaging in things that's relating to mental health, not just coaching. If you're marketing yourself in that way, and people are going over their PTSD symptoms, how it manifests, and you're potentially recommending things that are cuckoo, there's no clinical basis for it. There's no theoretical model that agrees with you. I can see how people get harmed. I can see how they feel like therapy isn't for me when they weren't even actually getting real therapy. And then people who actually need help and support don't get it, avoid it, and potentially their lives end up becoming substantially worse. So I understand it, man, that, you know, people aren't going to see the significance of why it's important that people don't do this. But I imagine that most fields that require the license, if we had that same mindset, a lot more people might be dead or hurt as a result of it. And I don't think that we would say that about CRNPs. I don't think we would say that about psychiatrists, MDs, in almost every other field where we know certain things matter for those people to even be in those positions. It's one thing to say her audience doesn't care about it, her fans don't care about it. It's another thing to say it doesn't actually matter in general. I think it does, and I'll agree again with Darwin. Only the people who can actually hold her accountable will make it so that it does mean something.
But I'm gonna tell you this: the pilot thing, I think that was a little bit of a reach, but I get what you said. Because think about it.
That's
the
problem.
The pilot, you got more people to point the finger at. You got to point the finger at motherfuckers who let that motherfucker board the airport, pre-boarding and get through past the gate. Like, we got so many people to throw under the bus, but with just somebody just changing the title, that's
But what we're basically saying is the reason why it's a protected title is because you're actually dealing with people's minds and their souls. Plain and simple. You're handling it. They're telling you things that they may have never told anyone else in their lives. They're telling you things or pleading for help or trying to find out what's the disconnect that's harming their relationship with their child, with their husband,
okay,
with whether or not they even want to still be here,
right,
alive. So it's one of those things where it's like, what do you what field, what position outside of mental health would you compare it to, where if a person cosplay that, would you be like, oh, okay, now I can see how serious that is?
Running up, going out on a date with somebody that got ball swing between their legs.
Full deception. Full deception.
No, look, hold on.
Dr. L, and then Dave. Go ahead, Dr. L.
So this is where I think that the issue comes in is that a lot of people don't take therapy seriously. And I'm not saying it doesn't have issues. And I could go on and on about that. But we have to take this type of thing seriously. Because, again, yes, people are dealing with post-traumatic stress, whether you return from war. People are going through divorces. People have lost children. People are thinking about quitting jobs. All the different things that cause people to end their lives, you put that in someone's hands who doesn't have the training or the therapy, or the training or the credentials, and backed by the state and insurance, et cetera, to make these diagnoses, to dig in, to get you to open up, and they don't have the skill set. And so this is that is part of the problem, that we have to be able to see that for more than just she's just a doctor who just pretended to be somebody else. And listen, I've critiqued therapy myself, but there has to be a mechanism when you're digging into people's lives, and we have to, as a community, we have to take this seriously. Now, I would like to come at it from the place of let's fill in some other gaps so we don't need as much therapy, right? Strong families, etc. I think we're all about that.
Yeah.
But for those people who don't have that luxury and who are reaching out to save their life, save their marriage, save their children from going crazy out of school, they need someone who knows what they're doing to talk them off of the proverbial ledge.
Dr. L, something so severe, you don't think that?
Darwin, your mic going in and out.
Is it just me, or is it Darwin's mic?
It was Darwin's mic. Darwin's mic. We'll see if he can get it back. Yeah, I muted you, bro. Maybe just kind of unplug it and try to plug it back in. But Dr. L, man, I agree with you. I think for sure that it's one. I get it. I understand it. There was a brother, Bricks, man. He kind of covered this, which I actually want to hear from all of you. This conversation about Cheyenne and what she claims and whether it matters or not, and who's legit or who counts, who's really doing work or not. This brother kind of covered it from the coaching angle. And I wanted to hear and see what y'all think, because I came into this space critiquing the APA, regulatory boards, things that I think have happened to the field as a whole. So I already know I'm about to get my certification in coaching as well, because I don't know how long I'm gonna be allowed to keep my life personally. And I know what comes with trying to reform something that doesn't want to be reformed. I know what tends to happen to those types of people, but I want to play this real quick and see what you guys think. And I want Dave and Mumia to kind of jump in first once we
conversation about therapists, especially Black therapists, that's been super critical of Dr. Cheyenne Bryant, is really one of, in my opinion, white imperialism. We have spent so much time as a culture, as Black people, trying to be a part of the status quo of the white system. This is why many people will say there was nothing worse for black people than integration. We was fighting to be able to integrate into the system as opposed to having our own and creating our own rules. I got tremendous respect for therapists with licenses, but the sentiment I've been hearing is a lot of arrogance and hubris and nearsightedness and lack of respect for the fact that yes, there needs to be licensed therapists in our community especially, but there's a lot of middle ground that we need the life coaches and counselors for. I've been a counselor for almost 9 years. I work with over 2,000 people, 350 couples and counting, families, children. And my approach is different from what a licensed therapist may have to study. And a lot of this dialogue is a lack of respect for what counselors represent just because we don't have a piece of paper. Some of us are ordained to not be in the system. Y'all mean to tell me we now don't have respect for our ancestors, our grandmothers, our aunties, our uncles, our cousins, our friends, ordained to hold our hearts, to help us through various situations, to give us advice that didn't need no piece of paper or letters attached to be effective. So I get that y'all got a lot of pride, also a lot of ego in those letters and the schooling that you've done, and it may feel unfair. Well, they get to just do whatever they want. We found ways around the system. Since when is that a bad thing? There's a divide and a separation and a lack of respect for the different forms of practitioners that may not have letters and pieces of paper. I mean, the shamans, the spiritualists and counselors, the life coaches, we are just as needed and in a lot of ways just as effective. And we're not just helping people reach their goals. We are also digging into compartments of their spirit, their mind, their psyche that may be from a different scope than what y'all had to study, but it's still effective. I've literally had hundreds of my clients thank me for saving their life without no pieces of paper. And I'm still out here doing tremendous work while still having respect for the therapists that have the licenses.
Okay, so here's my thought on this. I'm just going to go ahead and jump right in. I thought that was very irresponsible. His personal views, and I'm familiar. I've never met him. I don't know him personally, but let me put I statement. I know of this gentleman by way of ace metaphor. Okay. So the issue here is this. The question isn't whether he personally feels slighted. The issue isn't whether non-licensed people, life coaches, shamans, and all the rest can't have any meaningful impact. The issue is Cheyenne Bryant has gone on record numerous times in the past 2 years claiming to hold titles and licensing that she does not have and cannot produce. End of. It's that simple. Whether you think it's right, wrong, the European, the white man, it's irrelevant. Either she has the paperwork or she doesn't. And the answer is she doesn't. The end.
Go ahead, Dave.
Go ahead, Dave. I go after Dave. Go ahead, Dave.
Do you see how you can't get on this show and talk about leading from the front when every time there's a pussy panderer who decides to come via a clip, they all seem to be connected to the same root that is ace metaphor? Yeah. That's amazing how that continued to happen. No, not you. I'm just trying to understand how this master of memory manipulation continues to spread his tentacles all the way through Dusty Hood nigga logic. Mm-hmm. I have never once, but no, that's not true. I've said it once on this show, and it's the only time I've ever talked about the fact that since 1989, when I was almost 12 years old, I got my first certification in family mediation. I got my second certification when I was 13 in youth mediation. I then transferred that to an adult certification. All of that's on record with the state of Pennsylvania. It's not a hard thing to find. Right. I don't run around talking about my conflict resolution skills. It's not a thing because I don't need that. But you know what I do have? I have 2 ears that this knuckle dragging mouth breather doesn't understand because he doesn't care about paperwork, probably because he's in the 60% of folks that probably can't read on grade level. He would understand that he never once said that he was a doctor. He never once said that he was a clinician. He never once said that he was a therapist. So it's not about pieces of paper. It's about comprehension. It's about, instead of you trying to pander to somebody that does not play for your team, sir, maybe, just maybe, you could tune into the fact that this is a hustle. This is a scam. This is a grift. And unfortunately, because she decided to fight above her weight class, which is the slack-jawed North American big back collective that said, "This coming for us? She's trying to hold us, girls, listen, she's trying to hold us accountable. We gotta shut her ass down. She's not a sister. She's an interloper. She's a pick-me." Because nobody's picking them. They thought they had a hero and they didn't. She's the same as Lizzo, because remember, Lizzo had whole TV deals with Prime Video talking about watch out for the big girls. And then, just like your boy, she lost weight and all that body positivity went out the window. So what did the slack-jawed North American big back delegation do? They turned on Lizzo. That's why nobody know her album just dropped. And then she made the fatal mistake of calling her album B-I-T-C-H, as if she was going to take on Trump. Do you see what happens when the pander stops pandering? You get a reckoning. So again, I don't need, and I thank God for 23 consecutive bestsellers, I don't need to pander to people who do not deal with who I'm talking to. I don't go outside of my audience. And my audience happens to be people with sense who read and understand how to conjugate a verb. If that ain't you, that ain't my problem. But I'm not going to listen to somebody who's shooting a video while waiting for a bus talk to us about how we're wrong for pointing out the obvious. Next thing you know, the sky is going to be red according to this knuckle-dragging, mouth-breathing panderer. Man, gone. When is Ace Metaphor coming on this show? When are we getting Fluff Daddy on here? You going to call him? You going to call him, leader? You going to bring him to the table? Leader, you overquiet over there. I know that microphone works. Darwin was the one with the microphone problem. Are you, Mr. Leader from the front, going to call the eat him from the back puff piece panhandler to the table? When is Fluff Daddy coming?
Something tells me if Ace Metaphor ever really did come on this platform, his singular request might be that Dave is not on it.
I'm so shocked.
That's probably what he's going to say. Kosher, what were you about to say, brother?
Yeah. So it's a lot of things wrong with that gentleman's perception or position. He used the word counselor like counselors are non-formal and counselors are formal. They're LPCs, licensed professional counselors. They're LMFTs, licensed marriage and family therapists. They're LCSWs like myself, LCSWs like myself. But they are therapists, but all therapists ain't counselors, and all counselors ain't therapists. But what he's trying to do, he's trying to strategize the difference, and they're different, but they're not different. We all are counselors in our respective rights, and we are also therapeutic because we look at things from a therapeutic framework. Everything we do is based on evidence-based practice. We call it being effective in dealing with the different population that we're dealing with. Now, listen, there's a science in how you disseminate certain treatment interventions. We call it modalities. There's a science to it. But watch this. They did a study, Jeff, about cognitive behavior therapy. And they said that CBT was highly efficacious, which means it was highly effective. But most folks, they know how to disseminate it to the Black population. That's called ethnocentrism. And so a lot of times with ethnocentrism, they create interventions that are highly effective, but it's not always applicable to every community. So you got to have a gift, or what I call that je ne sais quoi, that some don't have, to disseminate the intervention. And one of the things I love about the clients that I see, even though I'm a licensed therapist, I do agree with you, because of regulatory boards and the things that they do and the power that they have. I'm thinking about getting certified as a life coach too, because I don't want nobody to limit me and my voice based on what somebody is saying from a Eurocentric, but not only Eurocentric, but a highly misandric perspective, and with so many men suffering, white and black, on the back end. So when he say therapists versus counselors, well, therapists and counselors are all synonymous. You can be a street counselor or a street advocate, but you're not a licensed therapist like yourself. You're a licensed professional counselor. I'm a licensed clinical social worker. Very broad spectrum. Some people are LMFTs. So he's conflating the two. Yeah, anybody can be just a street counselor. You just want to get basic knowledge, but they didn't go through the rigor that you and I went through. And let me tell you guys something. I think me and Jeff, we stand in a very distinguished position, and also David as well. It's not a lot of black men clinicians. We are extremely rare. And if you're a masculine heteronormative clinician, you're even smaller. I tell folks when I was at Carolina, I love Carolina, school of Michael Jordan. I always say it's a research one university, and it was rigorous. It was hard. And I was singing Marvin Sapp, never would have made it, because a couple of times I didn't think I was going to graduate. Not because of the rigor, because of I can't keep my mouth shut, because I don't tap dance, And so when you 6'5" with a deep voice, it scares people. A lot of folks, they use a big black man that speaks well. You become a trifecta Negro. You become one of those Negro agitators that they don't like. And so we got to get careful with this language where people conflate things and say therapists versus counselors, because it's all under a spectrum. You know what I'm talking about. So being licensed clinicians as black men, we are rare. We are very rare. It's not a lot of us, man. And that's what a lot of men are looking for. And if you don't have the background or the knowledge to look at things from a bio, psychosocial, spiritual model, because human beings are integrated. We're what's called trichotomous beings. We're soul, body, and spirit. And you have to have all dimensions calibrated in order to be optimized. That's why I used to say, I started my channel 5 years ago and said there are 7 steps to male optimization: family, faith, female psychology, finances, world travel, male mental health, and male physical health. If a man can master those 7 principles, he become kosher and he become optimized. And that's where I started my channel at, because I didn't look at things just from a sociological worldview. I look at things from a schematic worldview that encompasses all those different dimensions.
Yeah, man. My take on it was I could see it from both angles.
Right.
I'm not going to deny that he hasn't seen licensed professionals kind of, coming at coaches, basically making it seem like they're not effective at all, that they don't know what they're doing, they're not helping. And he's right. There's plenty of coaches and people who are actually very helpful in meeting people where they are, who just don't happen to have the respective license. And there's many people who have doctorates and masters who choose to not renew their licenses or never even go for it, because they can see and recognize that there are certain limitations that comes with it. The caveat I have with the concern is on his end of the spectrum is I think a lot of times people who don't have those things or don't see the value or significance of them, they tend to equate people doing what we're doing with I'm so used to saying Dr. Cheyenne. When it comes to what people are saying and critiquing and bringing up about Cheyenne Bryant, they're equating saying you're lying about credentials as a form of elitism. No. Either you're telling the truth like Mumia said, or you're lying. Either you're claiming titles to get at, remember, she's not claiming titles and things that she doesn't think will be helpful and beneficial to her. She's claiming things that she think would help her get into rooms, help her get onto platforms, help her take the place of people who actually do have those credentials. That's why she's claiming those things, including people actually coming to her for working with a doctor or a therapist.
Yeah, it's a form of stolen valor. That's what it is.
Hey, so us saying, hey, this is dangerous territory. I've actually done the deep diving and looked in on people who have alleged, one of which showed the screenshot, that they've met with her for therapy, or they met with her, for therapy. That's what they called it. That's what they thought it was. And by the time it was over, they was like, I feel worse. And you talked about yourself the entire time in your own
Yeah,
trouble.
right.
Multiple black women are now coming out, and guess who's attacking them? Black women.
Yep.
This is what this stuff leads to.
Very true. Very true.
So,
very true. Very true.
Yes, there is a segment of people who are, of course, engaging in this conversation out of elitist energy. I'm not going to deny that. But it ain't everybody. Some people, it really is about, you're walking on dangerous territory where what Mamiya said, man, she can end up losing a lot of money if too many people that's rocking with her currently and supporting her do start to switch and want their money back.
Right.
Because
Look,
go ahead, Darwin.
What I wanted to say to that dude, that last brother that spoke,
Mm-hmm.
I understand what he was saying, but he was talking about specifically the people in the middle that's not licensed. Those people are important. I agree that those people are important.
Yeah,
but you can't draw a parallel between those people in the middle that are just voluntarily giving them, their advice and their help to Dr. Cheyenne. Dr. Cheyenne Bryant didn't portray herself to be those people in the middle. She portrayed herself to be the people that went to school and was licensed.
Yeah.
So you can't, I don't know why he chose to do that and then try to piggyback off of our ancestors that didn't have the right to go and get these licenses, but was still out there, doing what they needed to do to take care of the people. So he kind of lost me there, but I get where he was trying to come from. But to the last thing I wanted to say, I think Dr. L, and salute to y'all again for doing what y'all do, man. And coming over here to this panel with y'all expertise. Lord knows we need more. But to the people that's booking these people, these consultations or whatever they need to help, like I think you mentioned life-threatening. I think those people who are booking or assigning themselves to a proclaimed therapist or fraudulent credentials of a person, I think those people are stupid for doing it. I think if it's something that severe, I think you would either go through your health care and you would get assigned, because y'all don't quote me on it, but I think once you become licensed and all that stuff and you can be found in a database, and like, for example, I'm a VA, they would get me culture clinician because he would come up as somebody in the area that I can go talk to. Right. That's extra filter of verification there. But if you're just going on YouTube and you seeing this woman and you got a severe issue going on, therapeutic or mentally, and you booking this person without checking that shit, it's on your ass.
Well, I'm gonna say this, Darwin responds exactly to that. This is why the people who have worked in mental health and worked in community behavioral health knows why this is such a difficult issue. You got people who's living $10,000 above the poverty line and expecting them to go through all these hoops to know who it is. When they show up to institutions, when they type in therapist near me, they're going to go off of what they think. If the website looks good, if they've seen them online, if they were recommended, it's actually extremely rare for people who haven't grown up in an environment that's probably middle class and higher and being used to mental health to even know what it is they're supposed to be looking for. This is actually how she got to this point. And yes, it's partially the fault of the consumers, but what I'm basically saying is, bro, like most people, I'll give you an example. Before
I know what you're saying. People that's at a disadvantage they don't have the means to be able to go back and check.
Yeah, and then even then, before you get your license, you're doing the same work. You're just supervised. So if you got your master's, but you ain't got your license yet, how do you think you accumulate your 3,000, 2,000, 4,000?
I totally agree with you.
So what I'm saying is if the people who wanted to work with me then pre-license work with me and they did, them not knowing that I did not have a license at that time because I was working under a license like Cheyenne did, she did say a couple times. I think that there's a problem with even the way in which the field is set up where, first of all, when people get their licenses, you got to start with, am I accepting insurance reimbursement or am I doing strictly out of pocket? That matters because that changes your clientele of who you can work with or who could even afford to work with you.
Right.
If you have to choose between the shitty outpatient program that your insurance is willing to reimburse for or work with a person that's been recommended, that's highly recommended, and they're going to charge you on a sliding scale, that's a very easy choice for most consumers. They're going to be
get
like,
it. Listen,
you know what
I
I'm saying?
totally
So
get it.
it's not so much just stupid or not stupid or something like that. A lot of times it's like, this is a field that's still growing where I think these conversations are going to help people to start to learn, okay, I got to do more due diligence. Like when you go to a
That's what I'm
doctor's
saying.
office,
So look,
most
but
people will
look
just
though,
assume they're a doctor. Yeah.
maybe something like this needed to happen so
Mm.
that people can now spark in their mind that, like, look, we probably need to go and check these people behind backgrounds and the credentials, because if it wasn't for this might just expose many other doctors that's not in the space or that's calling themselves licensed. Now people are going to wake up and say, we probably need to take it another step and just making sure that these people are verified somewhere because of the severity of whatever situation. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with
That's
that.
all I'm saying. So I think something like this made it, well, whoever's, if she ever harmed anybody, they just maybe just collateral damage for something that's going to be buttoned up now in the future. If everybody get on a trend and start checking behind these people.
What potentially could happen, not immediately, but in the near future, is a reevaluation of the coaching field, which is a lot more unregulated and more deregulated, more open to the wild, wild west in many respects.
But why won't we do a reevaluation of the entire Black manosphere? I'm talking about somebody who was a pillar from the beginning. Create a list of the top 100 or top 500, ranging from 1 million subscribers all the way down to 5,000 subscribers, and go through each one of them and mark a check mark verification that everybody on YouTube can go and look at and say, don't listen to that fucking guy behind the microphone. He is a piece of shit. And listen to him. We need that. We need that in his space.
I will say this. First of all, I think we could theoretically do something along those lines. Like when we showed today, there's a very brief sample of like her contradiction herself, not adding up. There's no real clinical analysis. There's no theoretical basis for what she's saying. Everything just appears to be more anecdotal. You could do something like that. I think the problem is always going to be ego. There's no man in this space where everybody's going to get on one accord with his recommendations. There's no panel. There's no panel with
you
that.
can bring together a group like this of the top guys that's highly notable and just start going down the list. Because I'll be damn, you got motherfuckers all the way from different countries speaking on behalf of our situation in here, and they call themselves to be part of the Black manosphere. I'm not gonna say their names, but they don't have no fucking integrity, no credibility whatsoever.
You talking about UK or Africa?
Man, more like Portugal.
Oh, never mind. I ain't even going. I'm gonna leave that alone.
You got to put that in the private chat. Who are you talking about?
The reason I'm not saying, hey, listen, I'm not holding back names because of I don't want to expose them. It's just that I don't want to give them the light.
Nah, I get
on this panel. You know what I mean? I want to give them the clout.
Yeah, but the whole point I'm making is like, I think when these things happen, I actually agree with you. It makes more sense to just hear a large volume of people acknowledge it, react to it, share their individual true thoughts about it, what you can look out for. I think more people have learned about the mental health field and process to get to getting their dissertations and what you need in the last 2 weeks than over the course of their lifetimes. I really do. I think hundreds of thousands of people now are a lot more aware of checking out Parchment if they want to look at where to look for dissertations, where to look up Google Scholar. I'm just watching and seeing people who may have not known, wouldn't have gone that far educationally. They're so much more aware. When you watch 20 videos of people talking about, she can't verify this, she can't verify this, this is where you would go to verify it. That is people being educated. So like you said, something like this probably needed to happen. And now I'm in agreement that I think as a result, there is more scrutiny, but there is more education that's finally starting to unfold.
Hey, Darwin.
You go ahead.
Yeah, Jeff, I want to address what Darwin said real quick. Yeah, so I think in theory, Darwin, what you're saying, it does make a lot of sense. But here's the problem with that: you can't regulate, like you can't regulate the church denominations. You can't regulate mosques. It's no different than being in North Carolina. David can start a church, Church of God in Christ. of all people, I can start the same church. They're just like the manosphere is like denominations. We're variants of one another. We're like satellites. Could you get one large conglomerate like similar to what Obsidian is doing now? Perhaps, but you still can't regulate other men coming up with a similar name or a different name and say, okay, that's his denomination, but I'm something totally different.
Well, kosher clinician, I wasn't really talking about regulation.
Right.
I was talking more like identifying who is verified. Those people that are going to still be able to go, the people that are unverified or don't got the stamp of the manosphere, sort of like that, they can still continue to go and do their content and do whatever. But we know who the guys are that are credible, and we know who the guys ain't. I believe you can do that. If you got two knuckleheads from outside of this country that can put Fresh and Fit Miami on their t-shirt and just I'm talking about captivate most of our black men in here and get them to freaking do whatever the hell you want to do, whatever the red pill. We could do it. We can have the same impact influence if we come together as top guys in this space and say, look, those guys are not good for you to listen to or for you to follow behind. Be careful with what information that you take on from these guys, and just have a list, and that's downloadable. A link that's in the description that everybody go download. And people, I'm guarantee you, if it's some guys that got some notoriety that's willing to do that, people are gonna look at that list and be like, you know what, I'm gonna go see what he's talking about, and they might just follow, take heed from it. It's worth a shot.
Nah, I definitely want to put some thought into it more, and maybe do a grifting series every so often, or once a month we rewatch and react and respond to accuse potential grifters. I just wanted to share this real quick.
Create some content.
And let each guy kind of close things out. This is my favorite MSW. Shout out to you, brother. He said you still have a license number as an associate though. Yeah, bro. The thing is, it's based on state, and also social workers have a 2-tiered licensure system that a lot of counselors or therapists do not. So you'll typically have an LSW, you'll have an LCSW. That's not really the case when it comes to LPC. Some states may have a lower tiered counseling tiered option, but a lot of times they don't. So that's just a little bit of clarification, but I appreciate you for the comment, man. So everybody, we're going to be getting ready to wrap up right now. So I'm going to read off this last super chat, and then I'm going to let the gentleman kind of close out, starting with Dr. L, and then Kosher, and then our panelists. We have Dr. AJ. Again, thank you for the $5. She lost me when she referred to it as the mental
health.
Oh,
mental health. Just like she said, doctoral.
Doctoral is crazy.
Is doctoral? I don't know, because I wanted to ask you this. I operate, a little bit differently. Is doctoral a thing? I mean, as a college professor, I've never heard the term doctoral, but I'm not. Is that a mental health thing?
That's above my pay grade, man.
Dr. L, is there a doctoral? Is that different than a doctorate? Is that different than a doctoral thesis? Is it like a doctoral thesis and then like the doctoral thesis? Is there like another level? Like, is she like a 33rd degree clinician?
The third eye, Temple Mason, 3rd degree. I've never heard of it. I've never heard of it. So.
Okay. Sorry, I had it the wrong way.
Yep.
Okay.
Anyway. Dr. L, why don't you share us your final thoughts about this whole situation and what we can take away from it?
We talked about a lot tonight, and first, thanks for having me. It was a pleasure to be on with you brothers to chop it up. We spoke about a lot tonight. It's very important that, number one, men stand where we should stand. As the manosphere, black men take our rightful place, get involved in community, education, helping out with schools, voting, coaching the little kids, do something. Second is, I understand, the dichotomy that we talked about a lot was her lying, which was what Obsidian was pressed about, and that was huge for me. That's huge for me. I also understand a little bit about what Darwin was speaking about, and the coaching issue that we got going on here. Being part of the community means stepping up and giving your best, and we got to learn to do that as men. I want to leave off with the community. People keep saying it's over. People don't want to fight for it, and that's where I think we're coming in with a lot of issues at. we have to stand up. We have to make a decision as to what we're going to be, what we're going to do, either leaders or not, part of the community or not. And I'm advocating, my advocation is to be part of the community, to stand up, to be strong with our back straight. And that's where I'm going to come at it from. Now, this whole idea about Cheyenne Bryant, whatever she was or whatever, I want to reduce the need for those types of people and speak to those who are in our audiences and say, hey, listen, get with your family, love your family, develop yourself, and therefore that will greatly reduce the need for mental health clinicians and mental health work. Of course, there, as kosher clinicians said, there's people who are dealing with biosocial, biological issues, neurological issues, and all that. So those people are going to need something. But a lot of times people are just lonely. They just want somebody to talk to. That's what they need. And so if we're not doing that, then they're going to seek out persons like Cheyenne Bryant, as we have rightly articulated, can't do it. And so they're, because of insurance issues and other things and finances, they're going to look for these type of people. They may not be able to go to their insurance to get someone to help them out with their needs. So they're going to go after different individuals who are grifting. So we're bringing a lot of attention to those who are grifting. We're bringing a lot of attention to a lot of issues. And I like what you said, Jeff, that there's been a great education here tonight. And this event, this whole event has said to people, hey, listen, check out these different people's, their credentials, make sure that they have them. And that in and of itself has been worth all this. I feel bad for everyone who's gone to her for help and for therapy. But if other people can avoid the mistake that other people have made and not going to persons like that, not just Cheyenne, but persons like that, then we have made an impact. Thanks once again for having me.
I'll say this. I love Dr. L's passion and vigor. I love it, man. He's a very passionate dude. He's a soldier, man. He's one of Connecticut's finest.
Well, at least you didn't call me a warrior. At least you didn't call me a warrior.
Well, I didn't call you a warrior. That's totally different. A warrior. I didn't call you a warrior. That's different. but let me say this. I'll say this, because I do love your passion and your vigor. I said some earlier that when you got a generation of compromised men and defective women, you can have a level of unison in part. I do think that we can impact a percentage of young men and women in part, but here's the problem with that. As a behavioralist and working with at-risk kids, I did it for 7 years, man. If the home environment is not synonymous with what you're trying to sell, it won't work. And I'm not trying to be negative. I'm not trying to be nihilistic. I know what I've seen. And when you got compromised men always sell their masculinity cheap. That's why I like what Obsidian said when he was talking to Dontre Whitfield. You can't give your masculinity away for free, because masculinity is expensive. And so when you give it away for free without asking the women what to do on the back end, like the president said in the past, don't ask what you can do for your, what was the slogan? He said, don't ask what they
Don't ask for what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country.
Yes, sir. What you can do for your country. And listen, the world haven't asked black men, what are we going to do for the black man? Teddy Pendergrass said, you can't hide from yourself. He said, everywhere you go, there you are. Until the black woman look in the mirror and understand that the black man is the rightful king, we're going to keep having these circular conversations. I'm not against it. But what I've seen over the last 60 years is that the precipitation of dysfunction and the precipitation of black male misandry, it continues to proliferate. And listen, Doc, you and I are probably about 70 years old and say, we can serve the communities. We're in wheelchairs. I don't know, you might not be in a wheelchair. You lift weights. But we're gonna be saying we'll be sitting in wheelchairs talking about we're gonna save the black community, man. And I don't think it's gonna happen in our lifetime, because there are too many moving pieces. You can't build girls up and consistent with Dr. Jawanza Kunjufu said, the myth and the conspiracy to destroy black boys, and you're gonna build black boys up. I was a special ed teacher. Some of my seminal work at UNC was predicated on black male advocacy and black boys. And it's not just black males, it's all boys. And so while we're constantly building women, we're lowering the vibration of men. We're telling them they're nothing. We're not building the boys up at the same rate. But then we're expecting defective, compromised soldiers to go out here and fight a battle that they were never nurtured to do in the first place. The way you win the warrior class is that the women must do something on the front end. They nurture the boys. They show love to the husband. They show valor and respect to the men. And then when you serve the men on the back end, the men have no other choice but to serve the women on the front end. But we keep asking men to serve without giving black men anything in response. And I created a new slogan called AWOL. A lot of men are AWOL. I'm saying I actually had you on the post, man. I wanted to do the show with you, but a lot of men are going AWOL. They're absent without leave because a lot of American men are saying now that American women offer less. It's not all of them, but in part they offer less. So a lot of men have gone AWOL until women march and put sweat equity in the game as they're expecting men to do it. We're basically telling women that our masculinity is cheap. And when you sell masculinity cheap to defective women, it never brings forth good outcomes. And I'll leave it on that note.
Yeah, and we'll do Obsidian, then Darwin, then Dave, and I'll close this out. So everybody that's currently watching, we thank you for tuning in. And if you haven't done so, please make sure that you subscribe, that you follow all our respective channels and platforms. And then also, thank you to everybody that gave in the super chats to any of our respective channels. We really appreciate it. We love the fact that you guys are engaging and enjoying this type of material that we're covering on the men's table. Ali.
Yeah. On purpose, I didn't say too much about where black women came into this, so I'm going to do it now. I did find it disturbing because of what has already been stated. It is true that the black men that we discussed earlier were the point of entry for Miss Cheyenne Bryant. But it's also true that she was able to build a large following off of this need for revenge. A lot of black women that are still very upset at our fallen brother, Kevin. Deeply upset with him. It has been pointed out to me by another lady who also is being formally trained in the area of psychology. She just recently graduated with her undergrad degree. She's going on now to the next phase. She said to me that there are many black women that are very upset 4 years on. As a matter of fact, as I was reading all the coverage about all this on Threads and Instagram, Facebook, I noticed Kevin's name kept popping up. And I'm sitting there like, now, why would his name keep popping up now with this situation? I think there's a connector, and the connector is a lot of black women took great comfort in Cheyenne Bryant kind of finger wagging to all of these high value men. Took great comfort in that. And as you all pointed out, you, Jeff, in particular, only when she said something relatively mild regarding black men that wasn't completely obsequious to black women, did they now want to start, doing forensic level investigation, that somebody working out of the Federal Bureau of Investigation that Quantico would be proud of. That's a problem. And people talk about a gender war, etc. This is just another flashpoint of that. I don't know the reason why I didn't say much about it tonight is because I don't know really you guys have rightly pointed out. I don't know really what to say about that. I don't know what to do about that. That's something black women have to solve for themselves. I don't think that they're at a place where they can be objective and dispassionate. They're very passionate and very upset. And they're pretty much looking for anybody that could take a dig. And I just don't see how we can make any impact on that. I focused on the brothers, none of us here, but Shannon and Ace, etc. I focused on them because, again, I maintain they were the entry point. And I think that there's something to be learned for black men is that you got to stop being beguiled by glamour. You got to look deeper than that. Or you can wind up like these gentlemen. I don't think it's going to end well for these guys in the final accounting. I don't think it's going to end well for them. Because what this Cheyenne Bryant situation shows us that these brothers haven't learned from anything. And all of these guys have had situations just last year. Very costly situations. So I would just say to all the brothers watching right now, Bell, Biv, and DeVoe was right. You can't trust a big butt and a smile, man.
Darwin.
Yeah, mine's a short. I don't have no long monologue. All I can do is tell y'all, it's starting, man. Everything is effed up. Change my turn profanity off. It's effed up, y'all. People are gonna identify if people found out that they can identify as a man when they not one, as a woman when they not one. What's stopping them from identifying what a doctor? Yep. It's all coming. People are gonna step forward. So years from now, I don't know how long it's gonna take. Just don't be surprised. You heard it here first. You heard it from me. People are gonna start saying, there's so many people out there that want to be a doctor and they do not want to go to school. It's so many people that want to be a man. They want to be a woman. They're gonna identify by it. It's coming. Society is just becoming more liberated, and as more we evolve, everything that we got as far as principles, standards, and structure is going to hell. So just get ready for it. For those who can remain true and actually go out in the trenches and do the hard work and get their licenses, those are the ones that are going to be most respected because they'll be able to shine through this. But everybody else, we gotta start checking credentials, man. We gotta start doing our due diligence because you don't know what the hell you're dealing with. Whether it's a title, whether it's biological, whatever it is, you gotta go check, man. That's all I can say.
Dave, and then I'll close this out.
Okay, people. First of all, I want to thank our distinguished guests for being here. Appreciate you guys pulling up on us. It definitely means a lot. It's kind of frustrating to watch us catch strays for what we didn't build, but of course we got to come and fix it like a stepdaddy who finally got himself a piece of something strange. Respectfully, I come from a long line of women who knew how to not only cook and clean, but ascend to the highest levels of education, professionalism, so on and so forth. I think it's possible because it has been demonstrated for generations way before my time and everybody's time here combined that real, solid, beautiful, intelligent Black women can walk and chew gum at the same time. The problem is we have mistaken cat suits and charisma for clinician-based thinking because somebody says a bunch of word salad that makes Kamala Harris look like she was on a coke binge fueled by wine. My issue is that when these things take place, all of a sudden, they want to call us like a bunch of weave-wearing lion-os talking about brothers, get the hoe. And I'm sorry. I've been a great many things in my day. I've been a comedian, a mediator, a pro wrestler, a reverend. I've been all of these things, but I ain't never been a Thundercat. It's not my job to come running to save the pussies. It is my job to point out the den of iniquity and the panderers who continue to permeate because, again, like Idris Elba said, at least it's attributed to Idris Elba, he said, women buy in to what they hear, which is why most men lie. And men buy into what they see, which is why women spend so much money on makeup. But the funny thing is, we forgot that there's a bunch of women who want to look like a Cheyenne Bryant because they think that if they just had that, they would be great. And the truth of the matter is, if you just focused on who you were and understood who you are, you wouldn't need to start appointing these fake catsuit lace wearing leaders who will sit there and collect $250 for a VIP because somebody decided to rent out a local civic center to have conversations that don't amount to anything, but you do absolutely nothing wrong other than choosing this guy who's right here, who already feels emasculated in every single aspect of his life. But we the problem? No, I'm not buying that. I just don't understand how this light skin logic has permeated everything. So I'm looking forward to the day where the OG of the panel will bring his little underling ace metaphor to the table. I know I probably won't be invited because just like a woman, he does not like reason nor accountability. But in order for us to do better, we got to do more than give somebody a 1.5 star rating on Amazon. We got to do more than point out the fact that there's all these women with more degrees than the thermometer who still don't understand the temperature of our people. We have to put ourselves in a position where none of this matters because people would think twice before they ever fix their dick suckers, respectfully, to pretend to be something they weren't in our land.
I'm going to say this and definitely close out. And I appreciate everybody, especially our guests, Kosher and DL. Dr. L, y'all are both absolutely welcome. We appreciate your feedback and a lot of what you added to this particular discussion. First of all, this is the prostitutification of our community and culture and society. This is one of the icons right now. Meg Thee Stallion is one of the icons at this moment. Cardi B is one of the talking heads that's getting a lot of eyeballs and women's attention at this moment. The only way that these women can get to that level is by two means. Women have to support them, and men have to platform them or engage with them. So my view is a simple one, man. I'm not going to, I said it before, if they act this way, move this way, dress this way, they're not even yours. Of course, they're free to do what they want. So she's not going to be super much on my radar after this week. Unless it continues to pop up on my algorithm. It is what it is. I felt like you and myself, we've all said kind of what we think and what she may have not been honest or dishonest about. If she changes her ways, if she comes clean, it is what it is. But I'll say this. I'm going to say the thing that everyone she sat down with recently won't say. Shy. If you are who you are, just stand on it. If you have a master's or doctorate, you need to probably very quickly produce the paperwork or documentation to reflect that. I don't care if it's the dissertation copy, if it's their dissertation committee members, something. Number two, if you're gay or if you date women on the side, sometimes you actually should stand on that. And if you truly believe you have nothing to prove, now might actually be a really good time for you then to be actually authentic. Just a thought. And you might be shocked and surprised at who's willing to be on the other side of that truth. So when I point out those pictures of Cheyenne Bryant, it's not really about her as a person. I'm looking at her as a symbol. I've seen our women turn against women like Monique and Felicia Rashad when they've spoken out about the ways in which our women are presenting and conducting themselves. And I see who they support, no matter how disgusting and low their behavior is in the society, on presidential stages, and even in relationships with husbands. Women in this community specifically are sending a message that it's only the women who can't be controlled, who objectify themselves, and who sexualize themselves are the ones that are ultimately truly respected. And then even the educated women like Dr. Raquel Martin, Dr. Paging Shonda, psychologists. I'm seeing y'all even attacking those women
Mm-hmm.
who have the degrees that a lot of y'all brag about,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and then some.
Yeah.
What it's making it clear to us is y'all don't care about intellectualism.
Nope.
Y'all don't care about receipts. Y'all don't actually care about degrees. Y'all don't care about anything other than women that stick to the sister code.
Mm-hmm.
And to stick to the sister code is to not call out embarrassing, disgusting, humiliating, and behavior like this. If she can claim those titles and dress this way and it doesn't change her level of support, that's actually more of a reflection for Black women of who it is that's your current heroes. This ain't about Black men. Maybe the few Black men that platformed her. This is primarily about who is it that you all are going to emulate, follow after, be like. I'm going to make it known, the women who want to play this game of y'all not leaders, but we don't want y'all to lead. Y'all don't care about us. Y'all don't protect us, but we get to do and say and wear what we want. If you haven't noticed yet, more and more men are just opting out of playing that game.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Some are going to be single. Some are going to do the bachelor life. And many are just going to date out and deal with women that get it.
Yep. Yep.
That's it. So feel free to follow after the Cheyennes and the this celebrity and that. Go ahead.
Yep.
And let's see if y'all gonna have the same outcomes that they do. Coach,
Yep.
go ahead and close us out.
Yeah, I'll say this, man. You know, I did a show with Dr. Helen Smith. She was the author of the book called Men on Strike.
Yep.
And her latest book was called His Side. And Dr. Smith and I, when we were conversating together, she said this. She said, it's not that men are not on strike anymore. They left the picket line. They're not even at the picket line. They gone. They AWOL, man. You know, they gone. You know, they're absent without leave. They don't care anymore. And that is the repercussions of the current situation that we got. The new popularity, Jeff, like you said, the new conversation now is not actual certifications and degrees. It's popularity, and also it's a term that I created called digitally modified truth. Whatever the masses say in social media and lore, that's what they go for. So I would say it has to de-evolve before it can evolve again. I do say, like Dr. L say, you look for the percentage of the good brothers and sisters, and you just help the small percentage out there that you can help. But the majority, it has to burn. It has to burn. It has to de-evolve in order to have a new evolution. And I'll leave it at that, man.
Listen, man. So everybody, thank you again to everyone who's watched, who supported, who liked. We just ask again, follow everybody that you see on the screen. This is an awesome, dope men's table. Thank you to everybody that's been supporting us as we've started this. Feel free to comment in the chat if you haven't done so. What degree did you have? What degree have you accomplished? We ain't asking for no degrees and everything else in your background, but feel free to kind of flex what you've done, what you accomplished, what you're doing. Feel free to comment it in the chat. Make sure y'all send it to 1, 2, 3, or even 4 or 5 people. And thank you again to everybody that's watched and support us on all of our respective platforms. Make sure you subscribe to all these gentlemen that you see on the screen. And we're going to talk to y'all on the other side. Everybody have a good day, good evening, and we'll see y'all soon. Deuces.